Previously in X-Men. That was good. I like that one. Our hero went to Japan to get answers from the woman he loves, only to find secrets, heartache, and violence. The truth was revealed that Lady Mariko's father, Shingen, patriarch of the Yoshida clan, is the crime lord who has consolidated power across the islands. Mariko is bound by honor and now married to an ally of her father, while Wolverine seeks to face the ninja clan known as the Hand, confront Shingen, and redeem himself to the woman he knows he does not deserve. I am Jason Lapidus.
I am Chris Sanagan.
And we are Group of 7 Comics. Welcome to episode 73 of our never-ending Tuesday night live stream read-through of the X-Men comics that became classic, as we read Wolverine number 4, the final issue of the limited series. Cover date, December of 1982. Chris, my friend, how are you?
I'm good. I'm excited to finally get to the end of this series, limited maxi 4 of 4, and wrap this up, just because it's a heck of a story.
Yeah, and this is the second time you've read it, correct?
Yes, yeah. And a quick point of note, as you mentioned in your intro about the Hand, is this the first appearance of the Hand?
No, the Hand has already been in Daredevil, but this is
right.
Miller connecting the two worlds, right?
They have been established as a ninja assassin group.
Yes, and like a lot of other people will note when discussing Marvel Comics or mainstream American superhero comics, although the credits go to Chris Claremont as writer and Frank Miller as penciler, they both do a considerable amount of writing, just different parts of the writing.
Mm-hmm.
So Claremont, by issue 4, has stated that it went from originally being a full script for the first issue. By issue 4, it's a phone call. And Miller is basically plotting most of it through the phone call with Claremont and then sending back the pencils and with notes on them. So the idea of, like, in this case, who writes this, it is a collaboration because, Claremont is doing the script, but writing is more than script. Writing is also plot. Writing is character development and character arcs and themes and all these other pieces. And with comics, the language we use to define the roles people play, it's not a one-to-one sometimes. It can be an amorphic, as you and I both know, and we love to, and we culturally, especially in pop culture these days, love to assign lots of the credit to people like Stan Lee for everything, when of course we know that Stan Lee in some cases did as much as an editor-in-chief at a newspaper did for an article, which is point to the writer, the journalist, point to the topic he wants them to write about, and then say go, and they do all the work, and then he gets the, he would take the byline essentially from a lot of creative people, like guys like Jack Kirby, etc., and Steve Ditko. But that's not really the case here. It's pretty well known that Miller and Claremont really did collaborate. That's why on the edition that I got from the late 80s, this sort of bookstore edition, you get their names both there, by Chris Claremont and Frank Miller, which is pretty cool. And all you have to do is read any more Miller, and you're like, oh, this book is so Miller. All the Sin City pieces are here. So it's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
And so, if, just to go back to my point again, if the Hand exists, I'm referencing your ink drawing here, the hand versus the foot, which is a fun piece of the foot from the Ninja Turtles. Is that meant to be a playful, the foot, like a playful?
Are you joking?
To the hand?
Are you joking?
Did have Eastman and Laird come out and exactly said that?
Of course.
Okay.
The fact that the characters are also Teenage Mutants.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And think about where'd they get their powers from again?
Ooze.
Remember? So where'd the ooze come from?
Truck.
Okay, right, a truck. And why did the ooze come off the truck?
Because it swerved out of control.
Why?
Was it trying to avoid a small child?
Who was doing what? Saving an old man?
Is that what it is?
Yes.
Oh, wow. So
did this just happen in real time in front of everyone?
I guess. So the genesis of this is like the side story. Ninja Turtles is the side story that happens as Matt Murdock becomes Daredevil.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
It is a complete love letter.
My mind's blown. I think we end this show right
now. That was great. One step further, Matt Murdock's mentor is named what again?
Stick.
And if and what would be a little stick, like a little piece of a splinter? It's pretty ridiculous.
So it's Daredevil fan fiction?
Ninja Turtles is satire. Yeah. Yeah, it's Daredevil satire. And so good. You know, so good.
That's amazing.
Yes. Hey, Gary, how you doing? Hope you're having a good night. And I hope you found Chris's revelation entertaining. I know I did. There's no denial from the video footage that I enjoyed every minute of that. Too much, perhaps. Yeah, so that big takeaway from Ninja Turtles is, it comes out of the genesis of Miller's Daredevil, essentially, and then anything else they want to throw in there. Like a little bit of X-Men for that Teenage Mutant part. But yeah. Fun, huh?
That's super cool.
It is, and I think it makes Ninja Turtles actually more endearing as a concept when you know that
100% is more endearing to me now.
Yeah. If you ever want to get your hands, by the way, on some Ninja Turtles, like to look at that first issue, I have an excellent artisan edition hardcover from IDW where it reprints a few different versions of it because it came out like the original layouts mixed with it's all here, but it's an interesting thing to see that as an artifact. It's a good edition I've got there.
I'm gonna do this all day, all night. Just shaking my head the whole time.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. Gary, you remember when it came out? I do not. I was oblivious to it because it was definitely an American underground thing, or independent comic that I wasn't aware of until I don't know, maybe 86 or 7. Like, it took a couple years before I knew what it was. And then the animated series comes before the movie, I think.
I want to say it does, because that's how I got on board.
Yeah.
And
like the rest
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I just knew a tiny bit. I think I saw a few issues on this, like wall books in Silver Snail or something like that, but I didn't really know what it was. I knew that it wasn't aimed at me as a 10 or 11-year-old, but it probably was. I just wasn't cool enough to have access, or I wanted color comics. Like, I didn't want black and white at that point. But anyway, yeah, fun. Just the thing I'm going to put out there, 2 little notes about the issue we're reading today. One is that it differs from what is in here only in that the scans we're looking at are from the original newsprint in which it was intended to be read, upon which it was intended to be read. The versions we have, you and I both have the same thing. It's on a less absorbent, higher quality paper where a lot of the ink stays more to the surface. And I'm just going to flash this in front to compare first pages. Let's see if we can spot. So do you see on this how we've got, you can see the color plate of the magenta like in the black? Can you see the differentiation?
Yes, I can in my copy. Yes, I can.
Yeah, so it shows that even on screen, we can see it there. It's pretty glaring in this, where it's like black ink versus the magenta plate bleeding into the black, that's where they would have cut color separations. It's just the nature of this paper, and this is not what the people who made the book intended it to be, how they intended it to be viewed. So we're going to look at it on the original newsprint, and I have to say, it's a recurring theme here. I think it looks way better, and I really hope that Marvel does something like what DC did, or I guess it was IDW who reissued. No, it was DC. The Absolute Batman Year One. They did them like a mock newsprint, and so they released those. It's there. They did both versions. Like they did. Okay, with Absolute Year One, it's 2 books because it was colored twice. Once for the original issues in the early 400s of Batman, like post-crisis, and Batman's flagship title. And then a couple years later, it was recolored by the same colorist. And she basically did paints for the bookstore direct market edition, the Warner Books edition, which is, I think, the version you and I both first read.
Okay.
And when you look at them side by side, they are both telling the same story appropriately for the different technology that's being used. So she's able to like make a pivot or change a couple choices here or there because the newsprint can only allow so much. So she makes a simpler choice. And when she has the better paper, she makes more complicated choices that are more nuanced or more decorative. And it's really beautiful. So the Absolute has both books.
Oh, that's cool.
And all the original Miller scripts and all of Mazzucchelli's layouts. It's like an amazing package. And Anthony, who's here. Hey, Anthony. Hope you're doing well too. I know that we both are. So thank you very much for that. Good evening to you too. At his store at Planet X, last time I was in there was a good copy of Absolute Batman Year One, which I was tempted just to have a second so I could gift it at some point, but I didn't because that's a lot of money to just spend on a potential gift. But anyway,
yeah,
neat. So newsprint. I'm hoping Marvel will reissue this series one day on like a mock newsprint at a higher quality, because I think a lot of people who look for that definitive Wolverine origin story, the definitive Wolverine kind of 4-issue bit, they always go to Weapon X because it's a better representation of the artist's vision. Like it's very, especially this new volume that I got at Planet X. It's a beautiful. I think I loaned it to you to take a look at the oversized one.
Absolutely.
It's really, really, really great for that book. And I think if this one just had a better art treatment, how it was reproduced, it might bring some people back who've always looked at it this way, where it's oversaturated. Anyway, so enjoy. That's note number 1. Note number 2. I did rearrange some of the spreads because of the ads. So the ads are all going to be included, but I made some choices to, I think, best represent Miller's choices.
Okay.
So there'll be an ad sometimes where it wasn't in the original issue because it matches what I think Miller's actually going for. So there's a little bit of me in that, and I hope it doesn't offend anyone's sensibility.
Note number 3.
Yes.
Just came to my mind the last few minutes, aside from the Ninja Turtles Daredevil thing, is the title of part 4 is called Honor, which is also the title to Group of 7 Comics number 5. I want to throw that out there. You're ever looking at our stuff, Group of 7 Comics number 5, also titled Honor, but with a U because we're in Canada.
The correct spelling, which Wolverine would have been used as well if he was true.
You got it right. Wolverine would have. That's how.
Hey, I'm going to put a thought out there just into the universe for a minute. A lot of people I've heard, even like Ed and Tom Scioli, when talking about this, not Jim, it was just Ed and Tom, were discussing this limited series on Cartoonist Kayfabe, and they were joking around, and Tom was like, hey, I wonder if Canadians' favorite superhero is Wolverine. Like, is he their superhero? And I just wanted to put it back out there into the internet. Of course not, because it's a character made by Americans for Americans that happens to be a Canadian character. But it's not a Canadian character. It's an American product made for American readers. And although he's my favorite Marvel character, I don't know if it's because he's Canadian, but he definitely is not Canada's like iconic superhero,
No, but I think you could probably wager that of comic book fans in Canada,
sure,
regardless of the origin of the actual production of Wolverine,
right.
Once they know that Wolverine's character is Canadian, there's like a certain amount of pride there.
There is, and it's very superficial because, like I said,
it means
an
nothing
American saying that he's Canadian.
Yeah, it means nothing except for the fact that that's what somebody wrote on the card.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. There's we talked about this one before. Like, there's nothing actually inherently Canadian about the character, other than the fact they keep saying he's Canadian, and they, the writers seem to think that Canadian means someone who is a lumberjack. As I said,
lumberjack cowboy.
Lumberjack cowboy, yeah. Which of course is,
and hairy, obviously too.
You're describing me to a T. This is amazing.
Look at the shirt he's wearing, people.
I know, it's ridiculous.
With the hair.
Yeah, if I should just pull this down and reveal
Pop
my
dead claws. Yeah.
So it is very funny, just that Tom, I know he was half joking but half serious, like this idea that that Canadians really glom on to something that was made by Americans and we think it's ours. Like that's not really how Canadians work. We know when something was made by us, and it ain't superheroes up here. That's the bottom line. We do love to watch American things, and we love to watch European things and
We also
Japanese
love to
things.
claim Superman too,
So,
So
which is based on Canadian propaganda. Like, it's not a Canadian character. Anyway, all in good fun. There you go. Wolverine is the best. Anthony says, "Thank you for the X prints. They look even better in person." Anthony, you are so welcome. Enjoy. I was wondering if you got them, and I'm relieved to hear that you did. And David says, he's Canadian to me. Deadpool 2. Yeah, I think that's where, meaning is subjective, right? People make whatever meaning they want of things, and I'm not trying to judge how anyone else negotiates meaning with their experiences. That being said, American company, American creators, that, there you go. It's all good. You ready, sir?
let's do it.
David, how are you? I'm glad you're here. I'm always glad when David is here. Let's get this back into he says, "Oh man, I meant to get the Cornerbox prints at the TO Comic Con. David, I've got 2 set aside for you. They're yours. Guest the show, get free prints. It's like the buffet of prints. So I've got some for you." Trevor says, "Hey dudes, rock on, Trevor. How are you doing? And look who shows up on time. To me, my ex-friends."
Which I can't stop thinking about now. So before everyone jumped on this on the show, I was saying to Jason that I've just started rewatching the '90s animated X-Men series.
Careful now, Chris.
I know, got definitely some fans in the chat, but I've just started rewatching it. To kind of because I watched it here and there when I was younger, but I like mapping it now to this, right? To look at the stories and that kind of stuff. But now whenever I see Professor X, I think Jason Lowe saying, "To me, my ex-friends," and I think of Jason on screen doing his voice, and then so there's a lot of I like how this is weaving into my life at different points. I just got to say that, point that out for you.
It's become fun.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to show the original art. This is the original cover drawing by Miller, inked by Rubenstein, and it's always neat to see again how revolutionary or how different, I guess, it was for Marvel or DC covers to just have the character. No background, no setting, just now it's just commonplace, but at the time, really cool. And, there's that comment about, I don't know if you've ever heard the story. I've only heard it third hand about Kingpin. And how Kingpin becomes the quintessential Daredevil villain.
Oh, because after the bowling match that he's part of?
Well, there is a scene where Kingpin, who was a tertiary, tertiary Spider-Man villain, but Miller uses him as the crime lord in Miller's run on Daredevil. And John Byrne talks to him about it and says, "Oh, you turned him into a Frank Miller character the second you had him light the match on his cigar, because Miller is famous kind of for these underlighting,
right,
and it just instantly turns into this noir character." And
I had forgotten that Kingpin is also a Spider-Man villain.
Oh, he originates in
right.
Spidey.
Yeah, I'd forgotten that. Yeah,
the Spider-Man No More issue is where that comes about.
Is that the one he's walking away from the costume?
Correct.
And it's in the trash can? Okay, cool.
Correct. That's for sure. So I just want to say hey to Jeff Potts and Humphrey Bear. Hope everyone is good. Thanks for being here with us tonight. Very cool. So neat to see this, always to see original art. I'm a big fan of that kind of thing. And I hope you are too.
Yes.
You being anyone out there in the universe. I love this cover. I kind of love the idea that Wolverine is unmasked on a lot of the key pieces of covers.
Because the hair is the mask, right?
It is. It's this identifying feature.
Or it's the whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the part of the iconography, right?
Exactly.
So for those if this is your first time here or the first out of the last couple, Chris and I have been alternating who is performing the part of Wolverine, because there is so much Wolverine, it would be ridiculous to make the other person sit out. So for this issue, Wolverine will be played by lovely Chris Sanagan here, and I will be doing just about every other part.
Everybody else.
Just about.
Just about. All right, shall we dive in?
Whenever you're ready, sir.
All right, here we go. I'm Wolverine. If you're smart, you don't want me for an enemy.
Konbanwa, Morita Desudozu Yoroshiku. I am Goru. By the way, these goons have like the worst dialogue back and forth. Like it is pretty cool. I am Goru. Okay, it's translated from Japanese. Here we go. Here is the shipment. 10 kilos. Pure. Pardon me, I have to advance that. There we go. Excellent. This is your payment. So here's the drugs. Here's your money.
That's right. And here's Wolverine in behind you. They keep their voices low, but I hear them fine. I'm a mutant with enhanced physical senses and abilities. My main power is my body's knack of healing virtually any injury. In addition, my skeleton is laced with adamantium, which makes my bones pretty near unbreakable. I also have claws. Snicked! That's the sound it makes, everybody. Razor keen, forged of pure adamantium, retractable through the backs of my hands into bionic housings inside my forearms. They're nasty. So am I. Evening, gentlemen.
Who? What? The heroin! My money!
Don't try it, bub. Don't even think it. Smart boy. He takes the hint and leaves his gun in the holster. I have a message for your boss. Tell Lord Shingen that Wolverine is coming for him.
Anthony says in the chat, I'm curious to get your opinions on the choice, whether it's editorial, Claremont, or others, to not actually translate the Japanese here. Yeah, I don't make much of it. I think maybe it's just a sort of way to get us in the mood of hearing some Japanese, and maybe add a little flair, make himself feel intelligent about being able to write in Japanese. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you put it, I mean, you're going to have some kind of, I think for the reader, for the audience, some kind of translation. Just to go back to that, even go back to that Marvel editorial, statement about like everyone's comic is their first comic, right? Like I think it needs to be wide open for people to really the audience to fully grasp it.
Sure. Anthony says it happens a few times during the series, and it always comes across as exoticizing the language and culture to me. I can see why you'd read it that way, or I can see why that reading is valid and could impact someone for sure. I think
absolutely.
There is a great deal of that happening in comics in this time period.
Well, and this whole comic is exoticizing like Japan and the Japanese. I mean, the whole thing. The whole thing is so. Yeah.
It had a huge impact on me in the 80s. Like, we were getting imported Japanese anime at the end of the 70s and into the 80s. I was watching after school stuff and before school stuff that was all those mech cartoons and things like Robotech. And with the things that were closest to my heart, I mean, Wolverine, like this limited series was really foundational for me, as well as anything involving Snake Eyes being in Japan. So him being, a Vietnam vet who goes back to Japan after there's nothing left for him in North America, joins a ninja clan, and is again like the white character that is able to navigate and rise above all the local characters in that kind of setting. And Wolverine is sort of doing the same thing in this series, and then I think about Batman, and I love those stories about him traveling the world and learning all these martial arts. Like those great episodes in I think it was maybe 93, Night of the Ninja and Day of the Samurai. It's like he goes to Japan and he's the best student, right? It's I'm definitely a product of those narratives, where the idea of the Westerner going to Japan is a transformative and an exotic experience. Like that is definitely a version of how those texts were interpreted through me for sure. Yeah. And I'm grateful to have the opportunity to deconstruct that a little bit and pivot, and at the same time still embrace the good sides of having a little bit of romance with other cultures and being interested in things that are different too. Yeah. Jeff is criticizing you. He's like, he doesn't sound
Well,
anything like Hugh Jackman. You're right. You're right.
Don't make me go Australian, Jeff. Trust me, Trevor would not want it to happen.
Jason comments that he loves these compositions. They are pretty, and this is a set that do not necessarily belong together. And there was an ad here that would have separated these, but you'll see why I put them together, so something else would work better. I really love the vertical page. I think that's really great. The Wolverine in silhouette along the top, really great.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. I just a point of kind of we read he's taking apart his business, but all these stooges who he's taking apart are these kind of older men.
Yeah.
These kind of schleppy dudes.
Totally. Not the best representation of the gang members. The other piece that you can't really see from an art point of view in this page, but inker Joseph Rubenstein uses a lot of zipatone on this page to create really interesting gradations. So we see in the vertical panel, the one where Wolverine is showing lots of tuchus, where it goes from that beautiful purple into almost into a dark purple. There's a really good zipatone we can see on our really printing. Yeah. You can see the moire patterns it creates. Yeah, like those weird patterns. And then of course the next one where it's Wolverine against that beautiful dark blue sky, we can see on ours the zipatone there to get it it would basically get it one tone darker than what would be done by the colorist. It like gives it a real night sky, dark night sky. And then the one that is Wolverine's massive cast shadow on the wall, there's a really, really beautiful zipatone applied, like a screen tone applied to transition it like around where his knee is bent down to the ground. And it's really, again, very visible in the version that we have before us. And it almost looks like that the inker is using like one sheet and just cutting it up into pieces. He's using the same zip over and over again, the same screen tone. But it doesn't really translate into the newsprint version. It just looks like variety, Very cool. And Gary points out that Jeff doesn't sound like Hugh Jackman either. Yeah. David says, my blob, Marvel Legends arrived. You are so lucky. I hope it is a big fat boy and he's fun to play with. We're big fans of Marvel Legends, and Blob is highly sought after. So I'm grateful you got one. When last you and I spoke, you did not have one on order yet. So I'm grateful that you got it. I'm very happy for you. Very cool. You need to read this page still, right?
Yeah, here we go.
Okay, please.
Shingen spent years building his organization. I spent hours ripping it apart. From the top of his heap to the bottom throughout Japan, I touch every base he has and leave the same message. Some guys try to fight, some to run. Nobody gets very far.
Yeah, really great looking page.
Oh, yeah.
So I thought these ones went together more importantly than, like, it's one scene and there's an echo from the first panel to the last panel. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? This is sort of both pages are 4 panels. Both have a close-up of Shingen. Both have like the bookend vertical panels. Mm-hmm. So I thought these were meant to be read together as opposed to separated because they look design-wise like they're meant to be together. Another just quick art piece. Really great use of cartooning here to all the guys are in black. The important one is different. So you can recognize him. Just you can see without reading words that he is a different figure. Like he's a different person than the other 4 dudes that are there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
Interlude. The ancestral seat of Clan Yashida in Miyagi Prefecture, roughly 300 kilometers north of Tokyo, nestled in the hills overlooking the port city of Agarashima. Which characters do you want to read on this one?
I'll do the goons, I guess.
Okay.
All right. Well, we won't do New York goons. We always do New York goons. I won't do New York goons. This accursed Gaijin strikes with impunity, defining our best efforts to locate and neutralize it. Shingen, your position is grave. Wolverine is making you look ridiculous and ineffectual. The gangs will not follow a leader they neither respect nor fear. If this situation is not dealt with quickly, the damage will become irreparable.
I have assigned the task to my finest ninja. Wolverine is as good as dead.
What's in Shingen? A package for you, sir.
Open it. Ninja hoods. And a note. It reads, tonight. I underestimated him. Summon the Hand. Inform them that an ideal opportunity has arisen for them to avenge their fallen brethren and their honor as assassins.
Is it wise to stay, Shingen?
It is necessary.
Your life is too valuable to risk.
My life is nothing without honor, Agami. I must face him. Do not worry, my friend. I defeated Wolverine in single combat before. I shall do it again. Only this time, I will kill him. Whoa. Shingen. Oh my gosh.
It's pretty great.
Yeah, he's a good villain. He's a good villain.
Solid.
Yeah. Jeff says, you know what would be cool? If they read Wolverine as if he were Stacy Keach. Yeah. That would be cool.
I don't know who that is.
You don't know Stacy Keach? Mike Hammer? You'd recognize Stacy Keach if you saw him in something, if I was able to come up with a reference that you knew. Like, did you ever see American History X?
Yes.
Okay, so he is the
Edward Norton.
He's the Edward Norton. Or he's the Edward Furlong. No, he's the like neo-Nazi father figure.
Okay, I think.
All right. Anyway. Or Wolverine narrated like Gilbert Godfrey. That sounds painful.
That would be very hard to do.
Gary says you should read Wolverine with an Irish accent. These are all really fun suggestions. Definitely.
Well, I mean, now I know Stacy Keach is. And you know, I say that, and I just watched the episode of Brooklyn Nine-Nine in which he plays.
Oh, of course.
The cop that Jake is obsessed with, right?
Right. So in the 80s, he played pulp novel protagonist Mike Hammer.
Okay.
And it was like he's built for that. So here's where I put the ad, because this page is so clearly not connected to the other ones graphically. Right. Little note about the background buildings, like those are all in color separations. There's no line art there to show buildings were even there at all. I wonder if there were any notes on the pencils from Miller, or if he just had a quick conversation with colorist Lynn Varley, who he was coupled with, who later, of course, goes on to color Dark Knight Returns. Mm-hmm. So I imagine there is some dialogue between artist and colorist informally. Also, another Miller trope here. Like, he just can't help but stick a swastika in everything. You know, like the throwing star swastika. And, of course, then there's a Jewish star. Like, it's such a Miller thing. Like, just to be a little bit provocative in even those kinds of choices.
Didn't even notice it.
Yeah.
There you go.
Miller always has a swastika in his comics somewhere. You even noticed, like, characters like either have, like, a lot of throwing stars specifically.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna look for that now next time.
Sure.
Yeah. All right. The ninjas came loaded for bear. I left them stripped and cuffed at the local cop house. I kept their weapons for myself. I don't normally use hardware with my physical assets. Who needs any? But for this caper, I figure every little bit will help. The carpet of my hotel room is immaculate. There isn't a sign that a man died here not long ago, or that his killer escaped through the window. My good friend, Asano Kimura, chopped on my lover, Yukio. My life's taken some pretty hard shots lately. I flew out here to Japan, chasing Mariko Ishida, the woman I loved, only to find her married. Then, in front of her, in a supposedly friendly duel, her father Shingen drugged me and beat me near death, and in process, stripped me of pride, self-respect, honor. I don't know which hurt more. Shingen threw me out to die in the mud. Yukio found me, nursed me back to health. We became inseparable. Fell in love. Trouble was, my heart of hearts still belonged to Miko. Then, too late, I learned Yukio worked for Shingen. She'd been using me. She conned me into sneaking her through the fences of Shingen's sole rival for the top spot in the Japanese underworld so she could kill him. And later, when Asano got in her way, she killed him too. Shingen called me an animal, and for a time, I believed him. We were both wrong. That mistake is going to cost him his life, and me, the woman I love. And that's what happened over the last 3 issues of the Wolverine miniseries. From me, Wolverine.
Yes, I love the colors in this page. Anyway, I also like, given that the target audience for this is, essentially a child. He can't say that he just banged Yukio for a month or whatever. It has to be that fell in love.
That's right.
You know what I mean? He can't be like, yeah, we had an attraction. It was undeniable, and I need to get some exercise on a nightly basis. He has to frame it as if it's some kind of romance, which I think is charming and very much, of its genre. Like, I love her, but I love her kinda.
Right.
Yeah. And here also, like, I put the ad in this spot because, again, like, these two pages didn't need to go back to back.
Right.
Although they actually, like, the 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna flip back.
Yeah, there is a.
They kind of they kind
There's
of
a
go.
synchronicity. There is a synchronicity.
They do, but you'll see that the ads have to go somewhere. So
I do love how the layout throughout this book is, synchronized. It's a pretty sweet.
These two go, but it was how do I say this? Had to choose one over another, and you'll see in a minute.
Chose the bubble yum.
Yeah, the version I have in front of me. I'm just going to solo view. Like,
yeah, you can see it. Me too. Yeah, exactly.
It does go.
Yeah,
totally does go, but it needed to be what it needed to be. Anyway, interlude. The family history room of Clan Yoshida, deep within the ancestral stronghold. Oh, beloved and revered ancestors, what is the path of duty, of truth? Are they the same? And if not, which is paramount? I love Wolverine, yet when my father returned, as if from the dead, and bid me marry another to satisfy an obligation my father had incurred, I did so, though it broke my heart. My husband, Noboru Hideki, is a cruel man, but I know now that he is but a pale reflection of my father. The man I remember from childhood is no more, if indeed he ever was. Shingen's ambition knows no bounds, and he will use any means, no matter how heinous, to achieve his goals. What am I to do? How may honor be served? Shingen is evil. His very existence disgraces this house and our most ancient name. Yet he's my father. By destroying him, I destroy myself. Gods and ancestors, grant me wisdom, grant me strength. I'm so afraid. Help me, I beg you. Answer me. What am I to do? Gotta sell that bubble yum. What is she to do? Elsewhere. Later. The sentry dogs. Dead. And we see knives thrown into the back of this hand sentry. And there's Yukio making her first appearance in this issue. Gotcha. With her patented trademark term.
Gotcha.
I'm currently, for the first time, watching Justified. Have you seen that show, Chris?
I watched the first couple of seasons. It was fantastic.
I'm really, really digging it. And of course, there is a villain in that played by Walton Goggins.
Walter Goggins.
The Gogs. And
The Gogs, a friend of the show, Walter Goggins.
He has a reoccurring line as he commits demolition, destruction. He says, "Fire in the hole." Sort of a line he keeps saying all the time.
Are you watching the first season?
I'm in season 1. Yeah, I think I'm only 12 episodes in.
Okay.
I'm thoroughly enjoying it, and not surprised that I missed it. It probably came out at a time period when I was just having children, so I missed a lot. Right. But I'm really glad I'm getting to it now.
Funny connection to Justified. This past summer, last summer, 2022, I saw the band who does the opening theme song, Gangsta Grass, live.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they played the Hillside Music Festival here. Yeah, yeah. A mix up for those who aren't sure, Gangsta Grass, a mix up of rap, hip hop, and bluegrass, and they were fantastic. Anyway, and all I could think of when they announced them was just the Justified theme song in my head the whole time. So.
Oh yeah, so I'm assuming they played it.
They didn't.
What?
Yeah, I know they didn't.
Balls on those guys.
There's a confidence right there. Eh?
Yeah, no, it's a pretty catchy number.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
All right. Back to the hand. And Spider-Man? Behold, my brothers. It is the Wild One, Lord Shingen's renegade assassin, Yukio. Many of our brethren have died at her hand. Shall I avenge them? No. Let her enter the castle. Lord Shingen wishes her taken. Alive and unharmed. Annette! I'm caught. Really? Do you have to write that?
Yes, you do.
Of course, Yukio-chan. For all your vaunted skill. Even you are no match for the immortal hand.
So I love how, and if you're kind of going through this quickly, you may not notice that in the second panel there's guys underneath her, right? Or in the fourth panel there's guys in the shadow on the left. Like, yeah. I love how they're just peppered with these assassins in the shadows. Yeah. Really they're just watching the whole time, and there's so many of them.
It makes me scared to go out.
Right. Anytime like you're scaling the walls of a 16th century Japanese temple, it just gives you a pause for thought.
Yes.
So
again, I wanted these pages together because I thought they belong together too. Given that it's one setting, and the panels or the pages echo each other as well. So it's like the ads have to go somewhere. So disagree with my choices all you like. Yeah, I have those battles inside my head every day anyway. Do you want to read?
You want to do Shingen, and I'll
sure.
do the other. Okay. Father, I heard a commotion. Oh!
Please come in, Mariko. I trust you will find this experience instructive. This young woman and you have something in common, an unwholesome attraction for the Gaijin Wolverine. By morning, you will both be cured of that affliction permanently.
Curse you, Shingen. Why couldn't you have left well enough alone? Wolverine cared nothing for you anymore, or your plan, or your daughter. He was no threat to you. We were content, happy.
How blissfully romantic. Wolverine's state of mind was irrelevant, Yukio. I had given you a command to kill him. You disobeyed. I will not have my authority flouted. Or fluted. Floated. Flouted.
Flouted.
You had to be taught a lesson.
Nobody owns me, Shingen. I do what I please.
Brave words, little warrior. But in the final analysis, merely words. Obviously, it pleased you to try to kill me. Why? A whim? Speak.
I killed Logan's friend.
Ah, and you thought to balance the scales and atone for your crime with my death? And he, in that swing of the blade, he releases the bindings on Yukio. Splendid. You know something of honor after all. You are free, Yukio. Come for me, then, if you dare. Your technique is superb, Yukio. Like that punch. My goodness. That must crack some ribs.
Yeah.
And your speed and power is almost beyond compare. But you are no match for me, and neither is your paramour. Eh? Mariko, how dare you interfere?
Stop it, Father. You're killing her.
Obviously. Do not tempt my wrath, child, lest you...
My lord, the radio.
Lord Shingen, this is Post 1. Repeat your message, Post 1. You are cut off. This is Lord Shingen. Report. Yeah, he takes her down really fast.
He does. He's like, here's your chance. Oh, sucker punch.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
And that like first punch to her, the softest part of her abdomen, like just probably took all the air out of her lungs too.
Yeah.
Respond at once. Do you hear? Answer me. As a kid, I didn't really understand that the hand were like melting, dissolving.
Right. Well, how would you know though?
Like, well, he says earlier on that they make for a tidy crime scene because they disappear, but I would have read over that stuff. Like a lot of the explanation I wouldn't have read. So I interpreted this as all like the after effects of bullet fire.
They're farts.
I read it as farts and stink lines.
Stink
no,
lines.
I was a big G.I. Joe reader, so guns had smoke.
Ooh, right? You get the stink lines and everything.
Yes. Wolverine has arrived.
Face him if you wish, Shingen. I prefer to live. Your last stand should buy enough time to reach the helicopter. Father. Forget about him, wife. You're coming with me. No. I'm in no mood to argue, Mariko. You heard the lady, bub. She wants to stay. Logan. One false move, Wolverine, and she dies. Step into the light where I can see you. That's the spirit, Gaijin. I knew you'd be reasonable. Fool. Nice.
I love the blood splatter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look at that. Double page spread.
Arcade.
Saturday morning cartoons for those kids out there. This was a thing.
Meatballs and spaghetti.
New meatballs and spaghetti.
Man. Wait, Gilligan's Planet, they go to space?
Yeah, and they're lost. Of course. They're on a 3-hour tour. There's like, I already know the voice you're going to do, but like, there's all the Gilligan's Island characters, and then that thing in the middle.
Zerbert or whatever is it? Yeah.
Whatever.
Oh, bottle.
That's the voice.
That's the voice. Real powerful. Exactly.
Pandemonium. Yeah. Cartoon.
Also Pandemonium. I kind of want to, I mean, it looks like they're fighting snakes. I'd watch pandas fight snakes.
Yeah. As long as they get eaten.
Yeah, exactly. Gotcha. Hold that pose, milady. Ah. Don't worry, lover. I didn't cut Mariko, just her outfit. You look pretty spry, all things considered. I'm tough when I have to be. I'd like to stay to fight by your side. You can't. Without another word, she's gone. I can't forgive her for Asano, and I can never repay her for Mariko. So I let her go. Mariko's silent too. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, that's her exit from the book.
Yeah, I know.
It's just, there you go.
Right.
In the issue, these pages were not together. And I had to no, in our book they are.
In our book,
but in the original issue, they're not together.
Interesting.
They're broken up by an ad, and they have to be together because we're getting to like the more important part where the pacing of this matters, and they're again so clearly meant to be together, although the print is not aligned.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can see that the page on the right is printed a little higher, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, you're right.
Anyway, please continue.
That is interesting how, yeah, she's just gone. She's gone.
Yeah.
All right. Mariko's silent too, as I leave her to follow Shingen. She knows what comes next. It's as if we're all actors in a kabuki drama, seen in issue 2, playing our assigned roles to the bitter end, regardless of the cost. When Shingen and I first dueled, it was with Bokan, wooden practice swords. I asked him why not with steel. He said I wasn't worthy. In that fight, he proved it. Shingen, am I worthy now?
One little variation again in the version you and I have versus what we see here. In the picture with his teeth and his mouth yelling, you can really see the fade of that sort of, that red into yellow or into orange from one side to the other. In ours, it's almost a flat color. There's very little notice of that fade. I like, again, the comic book version better than the graphic novel version. Very cool.
Yeah, very cool.
And then the picture at the bottom on the left, like that one could be a Mike Mignola face.
Oh yeah, you're right. Good call. Like the Wolverine with the yeah, absolutely.
There's neat when there's crossover between these artists that do a lot of ink spotting and heavy contrast on their faces, like really extreme lighting. Jim Lee also takes that too with his like Punisher War Journal stuff, and a lot of his Wolverine pictures. Like he uses this version of a face for his Wolverine. It's really impactful, I think, for him to see these pieces in the artist Jim Lee becomes when he gets onto X-Men. Have you ever read Punisher War Journal?
I don't think I have.
There's actually a 2-issue crossover between Wolverine and Punisher, of course. Like they're two biggest characters at the time, drawn by Jim Lee, and it's. I thought it would have been the comics I would have brought to school at the time to show my friends.
Sure.
To like get them excited about reading comics, even though they did not read comics.
Yeah, that's cool.
Whoa! Look at that ad. Amazing.
Look at Odin with the raven on his shoulder.
Yeah, you know who's going to help solve some comics? Odin.
Hey kids, it's your favorite Norse god, Odin. Yay!
The guy who okay, moving on. Anyway, that gaijin remains to be seen.
We move as one, blades hissing through the air. As we pass, I cut deep. Shingen cuts deeper. I'm hurt bad. He knows it. But no quarters asked, and none given.
Can you take Wolverine wearing this? He's wearing like a sash to kind of hold in his wounds. But it's such an interesting choice in the climax of the issue. Like usually, if you think about a lot of superhero stuff, like the character either powers up or levels up in some way or puts on their final uniform, their final costume, like the new version of their suit for the final fight. And Wolverine adds a patterned sash. Yeah, it is so counter to every other version of.
But it's his power,
stories.
Right? He's bringing her with him into the.
Yes, symbolically, I totally get it. Yeah. Visually, it is an interesting and unorthodox choice.
For sure.
Please.
Oof, what a fight! So many cuts.
Yes. A lot of meat.
Oof. And Shingen I mean, Wolverine hits him a few times with his claws, and Shingen's. Yeah. I mean, there's no suggestion that Shingen is anything but human, right?
Right.
I mean, he's a tough customer, but no suggestion that he has anything else going on.
And if you didn't need a reminder already, Wolverine cuts him probably either on the arm or on the body with Wolverine's right hand. Probably on Shingen's left side or Shingen's right side as well. Shingen's wearing a white suit. There's no sign of blood on Shingen. It's a kid's comic, but Wolverine is like oozing.
He really is.
Yeah, it's great. That one across his back on the top of the page is fantastic. You feel it.
It's if it's anybody else, the person's dead, right? That's what.
Yeah,
that's what I get out of it. You know.
Oh, for sure. I love the idea of him using his forearm, just as the radius and ulna to block that that katana blade, and it just cut right through the muscle, right down to the bone, until it stops the sword going through. Like, geez, painful stuff.
More fight.
Yeah, but finally Wolverine, like we see the toll it's taking on Shingen as his suit is beginning to get shredded.
Eye chopped off.
Yeah. I also love. I mean, we're down to 5 panels now. Like this is, these pages are moving fast, and like keeping the air open in the middle panel as Shingen just swipes at Wolverine's torso. That's a lot of blood that came out. Really good and graphic, but really cool also to do them in red against the white as opposed to the other 2 panels above and below, which is character in white on the red. Neat.
Then we get the Rob Roy moment.
Yeah, without spoiling Rob Roy, for anyone out there who hasn't seen it,
watch that film.
Arguably one of the best sword fights in any Western movie. It was the only time I've ever seen a sword fight where the characters get visibly exhausted.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Yeah.
It slows down, and it's a duel between Liam Neeson and Tim Roth. And if you like when Tim Roth is a bad guy, you're never going to like him more than hating him in this movie.
Oh, he's such a he hams it up so well as villain.
I think he also has like the grossest teeth in that movie.
Oh yeah,
they're like mossy.
That's that's a great duel.
It absolutely is. So they use this version in the movie. Like there is the climax of The Wolverine in 2013 is a final fight between Wolverine and Shingen, which ends the second act, which felt like it was supposed to be the third act. And it turns out in that movie that Shingen is not the patriarch. The man who looks like Shingen is the patriarch, but he's believed dead after the first act. So they really divide the character of Shingen from the book into 2 different characters for the movie. But the fight with Shingen goes somewhat like this, and Wolverine kind of uses the same move at the end, which is cool. Anthony says, I know you already said it, but the coloring really is good throughout this series. Those flat splashes of color pop even more in these scans. They really do. It's fantastic. I really hope that Marvel would reissue this, and I actually would love it as a fan project. If anyone ever wanted to go through and re-ink it too, I find that Rubenstein is not the ideal Miller inker by any standard. Whether it's Jansen or Miller himself, anyone but Rubenstein, please. Yeah.
Interesting to mentioning, Anthony, the color, and even that last panel where they've decided color in his eyes red, where it's literal bloodlust. Like here's the, you seen red, like it's that's all he sees. Because I mean, 2 panels above, his pupils are white, like that, right? And so, we get the final end of Shingen, and Wolverine's only seeing blood.
Yeah.
I think you're Mariko.
Yes, sir. Logan. Father.
She is the woman I love, and I have slain her father. Honor and duty demand that she become my enemy, that she not rest until I have paid for Shingen's life with my own, or until she herself dies. Her hand trembles as she reaches for his sword. Even wounded as I am, I could easily take it from her. I could kill her in 100 different ways, so quickly she'd never know what hit her. I do nothing.
Do you remember this blade, Logan? The honor sword of Clan Yashida, forged 800 years ago by the supreme swordsmith, Masamune. He was a man of consummate nobility and grace. Each blade he crafted is said to possess a portion of his essential character, his soul. This represents all we were and are and wish to be. It is perfection of form and function, of reality and spirit, to be worn not by the lord of the clan, but by the samurai who best exemplifies those qualities. My father brought shame to Clan Yoshida. By his actions, he forfeited his right to touch this blade, much less wield it. Logan, the honor sword is yours.
Miko, no, I am unworthy.
You fought for the good of others, for right, for the truth. Shingen for greed and ultimately for survival. You persevered. Though you believed that such a course would cost you everything you hold dear, everything you held dear. And thereby, beloved, you proved that you are what Shingen could never hope to be.
Damn.
Big moment, and what do they do in the comic?
Ooh, bullpens. We didn't get any of that in this version.
Yeah, we did not.
Hmm. Look at it is. Look at that comic series right there.
Yep.
All right. Mariko tells me later that had Shingen survived our duel, she would have slain him herself. And then, if successful, taken her own life through seppuku, ritual suicide. It was tolerable for Noboru to act like a swine, indeed almost expected, because he was a man without honor to begin with. But for Shingen to behave in such a manner was as unpardonable a crime, the ultimate betrayal of the clan. And as heir to the domain, it was Miko's duty to mete out punishment. Fortunately, I beat her to it. Impressed in her own way, Riko makes as formidable an adversary as me. We stay in the mountains while I heal. Then, in spring, I finally write the X-Men. Tell them what's happened. And more importantly, what's about to happen. I'd give anything to see their faces when they open the letter.
His Imperial Majesty Hirohito, Emperor of Japan, requests the pleasure of your company at the wedding of Lady Mariko of Clan Yoshida to Logan.
Hey, Elf, don't forget the beer.
There you go.
There you go.
And then, of course, that amazing ad that looks fantastic. Like, that dark side, it looks like Walt Simonson is born to draw that character.
Oof.
And both the X-Men and Teen Titans look good by Simonson's hand as well.
So who's very cool. Dark Side, Dark Phoenix, and who's the dude in the middle?
It's Professor X in the Mobius chair.
Oh, right. The Mobius chair is a chair that tells you all the answers to the universe?
Or it takes you. It's like the vehicle that takes you to the answers. I think it has like a mother box kind of built in.
Gotcha.
I'm not the biggest resource for New Gods lore. I get it in the big picture, and I look at it from a more mythological point of view. I don't actually know the different interpretations by, let's say, Simonson as he does his series of Orion, or John Byrne who does the New Gods in the 90s or early 2000s, which I picked up at Whitby. I bought a bunch of those New Gods issues, and I do have a lot of the Kirby stuff too, but I haven't like memorized the lore. It is very, very dense in terms of like Kirby's love of language.
Mm-hmm.
I like the pictures and I like the concepts, but I don't know the details of what the Mobius chair can or can't do. Gotcha. I just imagine it just does whatever the mother box guides it to, or whatever Metron, whatever his intellectual curiosity is.
It's also a toilet. That's the secret to the Mobius chair.
It's fueled on farts. Yeah. Trevor says, this is basically where I came into the X-Men, Uncanny X-Men, issue 173, this story. Right, so this comes out considerably before that, but it comes into X-Men, like you said, at 173, where it sort of follows. We are going to get to spoilers, we're going to get to the part in X-Men that addresses like what happens next.
Oh, cool. All right. And you have this comic series, do you not?
Sorry, what?
You have this series, do you not? The
So you're back onto the X-Men Teen Titans thing?
Yeah.
It's a one issue. I believe you picked it up for me from the Dragon.
Yeah. Oh, it's a one issue. Okay.
It is a one issue. But I think Trevor was referring more to the wedding of Wolverine and Mariko.
Oh, sorry. I was thinking it was.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Aftermath of the poop chair.
We're gonna get to. We really should read this issue. It is again like a Claremont piece. It is characters you love. Like I know you're a huge Teen Titans fan, and Absolutely. It is something again that was like a big hit between all these characters, and it was one of those pieces that again cemented the X-Men's place. Like when Marvel and DC decided to do a crossover, they had done at the end of the 70s. You know, there's Spider-Man, Superman, and they had done Batman, Hulk. And it's like, if they're going to do teams, it wasn't Fantastic Four, right? It's not Fantastic Four Challengers of the Unknown or X-Men Doom Patrol or whatever. It's X-Men Teen Titans, so it's a pretty big deal. So I'm going to take a look and see what copy of this I can get for you to read. It might be digital, I think. And we should definitely incorporate this one into our show because it's a good one. We have a lot of just to the left stuff to read because now X-Men is a bona fide hit at Marvel.
Right.
We've read it from being a book that was just canceled and there's an attempt to revive it to now it's the biggest property they have. So this is, a limited series where we get, 4 issues outside of the flagship title. We're also getting the New Mutants graphic novel and then the ongoing New Mutants series. We're also getting the X-Men graphic novel, which a lot of X2 is based on, like some of the themes there.
Okay.
And as people have commented in the chats, like that is, like in the comments in the videos, not the chat per se, but the video comments, that seems to be one of those first spots that like it really cements the X-Men as a civil rights and human decency dialogue. Where it isn't so much about superhero versus supervillain and superhero saving the day. It is a conversation about what it means to be a good person and not to judge so much. And so it's called God Loves, Man Kills. And it's Claremont and Brett Anderson, I believe, on art duties. And I don't know how I'll get you a copy of that one. I've only got one so far, but we'll figure it out. But that's got these. There's a lot of things we need to kind of cover that are right from this time period that are all not in the ongoing series. So it's kind of fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but that's a beautiful ad. I think it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there are these ads. And then some Lego. Trevor says God Loves, Man Kills is fantastic. Okay. Agreed. It's a pretty special one. I got me a Viper. She's walking holding some pistols.
She's not taking her skin off,
No, I don't think that.
Creepy and
from
cool.
The Wolverine, right? They did
That's right.
that character in as the doctor for whatever the character's name was, the Yashida clan patriarch, Shingen's father, who's not really dead. Spoilers for a 10-year-old movie. Yeah, she's. I like having, like I said, I like having some good bad guys. She's fine, right? The colors are fun. It's they've just left this body behind in terms of production. Yeah. So she's got all the pins and stuff, but again, I like having. I'm a big fan of Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes, the animated series, and when they fight Hydra, she's a prominent character. So
I got to rewatch that too. I know it's some rewatching X-Men.
There's some really good stuff in there for sure.
Yeah,
good stuff. I gotta open that soon. I don't know what to do.
Wonder Man.
Yeah. David says, looking it up, X-Men 152 came out 5 months after Wolverine. Long time for a next issue set up back then. For sure. Yeah, but they're balancing different things, and who knows why it was. Should I open this right now?
Do it.
I don't know. Have you bought
Box,
any
box,
Marvel? Oh, I ripped it. Have you bought any Marvel Legends that were in the plastic-free packaging?
No, maybe.
There's no window anymore, right?
Yeah, no, I've never bought one with. I've only ever bought ones with windows.
Right. I agree with what David's saying. It is a long time to wait. But what are we gonna do? Make him wait. Is he even in here? What is it?
Is he even in here? Nope.
You get like these plastic. I'm sorry, these paper. This is a leg of a character.
Okay.
David says Blob is the most fun, by the way. So did I remember this correctly, David? That when we talked last weekend, Wonderman, no. You did not have a lead on getting Blob. Am I remembering that right? And because if it wasn't you, I remember I was going to keep my eye out to find one. I thought it was you. So if it was you, please let me know. Secondly, what makes Blob the most fun, by the way? Look at this guy. Oh my God. Here he is.
Oh, wow.
Look at that smile.
Look at that outfit. My Lord. He's like the cargo pants. Like, it's so...
It is a little weird. I'm not sure if the pants are the right ones for this George Perez run on Avengers. I did collect these issues as a kid. Avengers was a title that was not my first superhero book. Of course, that would have been Alpha Flight. And X-Men was my second superhero book. But when I went to my first comic conventions in Toronto, which were held at the Ontario College of Art, they were in like the cafeteria or the auditorium or whatever it was. I found Avengers back issues were really easy to find, the ones that were like in the recent years. So I was able to get a lot of Al Milgrom comics that featured characters like Tigra and Wonder Man on the team before they had a West Coast team. And Vision and the Wasp. And when I started reading Avengers, Captain Marvel, the Monica Rambeau version, was actually the chairperson of the team. David says, no, I didn't. I ended up buying one from DJC Collectibles Online or DJ Collectibles Online on Thursday or Friday. I'm really glad you got it. He's huge and heavy, and the voice is fun to do. Which Blob voice do you do? The one from the movie? No, which one? Who's your main Blob voice guy? From maybe X-Men Evolutions? Or Evolution, singular? So I was having arguments with people about like what this jacket was.
Okay, what is it?
Because some toy collectors were calling it a smoking jacket. Like, it's not a smoking. Someone else called it a safari jacket. I was like, no, it's a leisure suit.
Mm-hmm.
It's a leisure suit. That's what he was. It was the early 80s. He was wearing a leisure suit. So this version of Wonder Man is like best friends with Hank McCoy Beast. Mm-hmm. Like a version of Beast that is the prankster. And the two of them were the Booster and Beetle. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Of that team.
Yeah.
They were there for the comic relief in the background and whatnot. Jason Lowe's Blob voice is my main Blob voice. So next time we have an issue with Blob in it, we got to get Jason Lowe on here and David to battle it out for the best Blob voice. Yeah. So when this one is $5 in a year or so, pick it up. He's not a 90s Wonder Man, but he's pretty good. He's pretty funny. He definitely has a spot on my shelf.
Nice.
Are there what pieces are here? There's a set of hands and little thruster things for his belt.
Oh, for his belt. Yeah.
Yeah, which I might have just, thrown everything away and not even know. They're got to be around here. Oh, no, they're with the bath part in the baggie. Nope. Where are they?
They're on the floor somewhere.
They're on the floor, I'm sure. my dog will eat them later, don't worry, but I lost them already. All right. So next week, do you remember what's going on next week?
We're back to the Uncanny X-Men run.
We are.
And it is issue 160 something.
69, I believe.
And starring Dracula.
True.
And we have a special guest.
Yes. We've got Becca Kinsey coming on the show next week, who will be doing some good Dracula chat with us, as she has some experience with that particular Dark Lord. And I'm looking forward to that.
Yep. Super cool comic creator, Becca Kinsey. We're very excited to have her on the
Kitchener's Own.
Kitchener's Own.
Yeah. I saw her last weekend at Toronto Comic Con. Yeah. Super friendly. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
It's been a while since we've had a guest on, so it'll be good.
Yeah, it's been way too long. And there's other guests coming up too. I know Dave Pretorius from The City, that crew. Colorist there. He's coming on later on in the month. And yeah, we got to have Francois supposed to come on soon. I got to get back to him about a date. And we got to look ahead to when the Blob's coming, because we're going to have a Blob fight.
Okay, a Blob. A Blob up.
Yeah, you got to get a Blob action figure too. Oh, I showed you this already, but I picked up.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty sweet.
Ghost Rider in the Marvel Legends Retro 3.75 series. I got a Ghost Rider. Lots of fun. And the packaging is just the greatest packaging ever. Even though it is oversized, it just looks phenomenal. Like, look at that.
Amazing.
Yeah, really good. And are you going to go watch some X-Men now?
I might. See what happens. Okay. As I relive being 14 again, watching that show, 13, whatever it was.
Yeah, you were 12.
But the other thing that's interesting is that it is produced in Canada, right?
At least
when
you say produced, I mean the voice recordings were done here,
right?
Toronto.
So the voice. So we've already talked last week about Cedric Smith, Canadian English actor and voice of Professor X, and also because I picked up that record last week. Perth County Conspiracy does not exist. Anyway, so Cedric Smith, and then when I Wikipedia'd him, he's like, oh, he was married at one point to the woman who did the voice of Jean Grey. So I'm like, oh, it must also be like Canadian, or at least here. Then you had mentioned previously that the voice of Banshee on that show is done by a friend of your father's, another Canadian actor,
right,
and voiceover actor. And then we heard also about, what else do we hear about? Is it Cyclops or something? Some other kind of connection to.
Right, isn't Gambit done by the guy who was on?
Gambit was done by
Kung Fu, The Legend Continues.
The Legend Continues. Scott Chandler told us that.
Right.
Because he knows
it's filmed here.
Scene. And, oh, no, he came to remember he was in his high school. So there's some connection. Something as a teacher or an art school or something. So all these little bits and pieces about the X-Men animated series and its history in Canada have come to light during the course of us doing this show. So it got me excited to go back.
Yes, I should find out what studio it was and technically where in the city it was too. David points out that Jason Lowe voices the Blob in one of the Days of Future Past episodes. Okay, I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch it. I ain't got time for that. That's crazy. You can find us next, actually. Still working out details as to what's going to happen with TCAF. I'll update you on that a little later, Chris. And we will update the world as soon as we know more. But our next official show will be the Festival Bande Dessinée Montréal, or MCAF in English, the Montreal Comic Arts Festival, which I will be attending in the end of May. And you can find the last copies of our Group of Seven and Most Secret Tale, as well as some issues of Peregrines. And Londinium should be right in my hand, but I think I put it down somewhere because Obstacle Course is officially sold out. It is out of print.
That's right.
No longer find that bad boy. But you can find all of our remaining books at groupofsevencomics.ca. Of course, that is the number 7. And you can follow us on Twitter or Instagram or the Facebook at Group of 7 Comics. Number being 7. You can see old Chris here at Chris Sanagan. You can see me at Jason Lapidus Art. And what were you going to say, buddy?
Look out for information about, we got a crowdfunder coming up. We need to, as Jason mentioned, we are running low on copies of our trade paperback Group of 7 Most of Your Tales. So we need to reprint it.
It is done.
Have it at our shows and are able to sell it. So we are looking at a crowdfunder in the next couple of weeks to print the second version, the second printing of Group of 7 Most of Your Tales. And we're looking to throw in some goodies and some other kind of fun things along that crowdfunder. So look for more information about that on our socials.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what we come up with as sort of final things to tweak.
Yeah,
the product overall. Yeah, it should be interesting. So yeah, I found the hands. Come on, out of this little baggie. There's yeah, here we go. 2 grippy hands.
Ooh, grippy.
And 2 little blast effects.
Oh, okay.
That would
off his butt.
Off his belt, which is like, yeah, that doesn't really work, dude. But you know, it's part of comics lore. I might use the head on the other Wonder Man body I have. I have another Wonder Man where he's just
is it the black suit? With the
like the unitard with the W on it.
Yeah.
But he has no glasses. I prefer my Wonder Man with glasses. I like that idea.
Yeah,
so we'll see.
Behind those glasses is like pure energy, right?
Yeah, his eyes are just energy eyes.
Yeah, man.
We shall see what becomes of this figure, and I might change out the legs with the other legs. We'll see. I'll look at some customs online and see if they're good, and if I like the idea, and if I do, maybe I will make an adjustment. If not, I will leave it be. Yeah, the blast effects don't really go nicely into his belt, just because there's like no room, because the way the bottom part of his coat flares, it doesn't really leave room for blast effects. Anyway, Wonder Man to save the day.
Wonder Man. Everyone's
favorite hero. All right, dude. Thanks for hanging out with me. Everyone, thank you for hanging out in the chat, and thanks for watching this. Please help support the channel by clicking like and subscribe. So like the video, subscribe to the channel, throw a comment, not just in the chat, but in the comments below. That would really help other people find us, because the more we get engagement out of people who view this, the more people will have this video prompted for them in their feed. So it helps us grow the channel. We're almost at 200 subscribers. It took us a long time to get to 100. It was a nice quick jump up toward 200. We'd love to get over that hump and make our way to 400, which will unlock a little bit of usability for us on the platform. And then, of course, as we get to 1,000, it would make a big difference. So every little bit you do helps us grow what we are doing, because we just want to share X-Men comics with y'all. And that brings us to the end of the episode. Chris, have a wonderful night.
You too, man.
Everyone out there, thank you so much for hanging out with us. We have had a lot of fun sharing the Wolverine Limited series with you. It is definitely one of my favorite things in the world of comics and beyond. And we really appreciate you hanging out with us for the night. So look after yourselves, and we'll see you next week with episode 74, as we read, I believe, issue 169 of Uncanny X-Men with special guest Becca Kinsey. Be back in 7. We'll see you then. Cheers.